habits to start before 18 tier list. So first of all, welcome. This channel is called Sosa Does It, and my name's Shnar, and I try to help you guys over here. I'm 18, right, and I'm about to complete the age 18, and it's like a month left till I turn 19. So I thought that gathering all of my knowledge from my very little time that I had here, I could do a video to help you guys. So the problem with the current status quo advice. Self improvement guys got it completely backwards. I hear all this talk about people who are age 30 or over, suggesting guys who aren't even like 18 yet, who aren't even adults yet, suggesting to those guys that they should be making money, they should be focused on this and that, and I think it's completely backwards. I think we young men need to be on the field gaining experience. So that's one of the big things I've learned, in my very short time here. Um, Life experience is probably going to be anything you could have done before you turned 18, right? So let's say there's two guys, right, and one of them is like, you know, locked in at his house, working on like an online business or such, or like trading or something like that, right? You always see these type of guys on social media, and like, let's say they're making 10,000 a month at 16 years old, staying at home, but the other guy is going out, exploring the world, having fun, meeting new people, and deepening his relationship with people, and gaining experience, doing some sports, doing some kind of activity that will make him go up to that next echelon of life experience, right? Be that second guy. Don't be that guy locked in at his house. So my list is going to be a reflection of that view, because till you turn 18, I don't think you're supposed to really focus on the boring stuff, right? So I believe self-improvement guys got it completely backwards, and there's like merit to what your parents were saying, kind of. Like, you should probably be focused on making your bed, and being a responsible person at first, rather than all this um toxic online making money bullshit. I think you should get into it, but not before you even turn 18. I think you should be focused on gaining life experience first, gaining and learning things first. So let's get to it. First off, working out and sports. Look, I put this first because I think this is an elite level habit you can start to build. This is going to surpass anything you could have done probably before you turn 18. There's a reason I didn't write just gym, right? Working out and sports. So what I mean is outside activities. What I mean is playing basketball with your friends. What I mean is joining the school team of soccer. What I mean is joining the volleyball team. What I mean is like doing some kind of sports, trying to be competitive at it, and doing some kind of sports and being competitive at it, because that experience alone, that schedule and coaches and such, will affect and improve your life so much that even when you turn 25, even when you turn 30, I believe you will always have lessons and habits to fall back upon if you get this one thing right, working out in sports. I think this is probably the most important you can get to before you turn 18. I played basketball, right? Amazing experience. Teamwork, discipline, competition, amazing experience. I played football before that. Amazing experience. You should be focused on having these type of sports and habits, working out locked in. Immediate let me write down actually. S tier, easily. Meditating. So I know a lot of self improvement advice is like the most you know advice you hear the most often is working out, meditating. Of course, I put it second. I don't think for a guy who hasn't even reached the age 18, I don't think it should be your most important concern. I don't think it should come second, after your most powerful habit. I think it's nice to have, sure, and you're going to see a lot of nice to haves in this list, but it's not really something that you couldn't do without, right? Because I know that all the self improvement advice on YouTube is always, meditating comes second to whatever activity you've got, but you're not even 18 yet, right? I think you can have much better outlets of emotions and much better ways to I guess cope with the daily stress than meditating. I think it's nice to have. I think if if you're able to do it, I think you should do it. But habits tier list before 18, meditating will not be S tier or A tier or B tier for that matter. I think I would put this in C. I think you can get a lot of false lessons from like being focused on this Eastern type of spiritual activities like Buddhisms and such. I think as a young man you shouldn't probably be into this type of shit. But like B or C tier for meditating. No fat. Inexcusable. Every man should be on it. Immediate S tier, right? When I turned 18, I quit porn fully, and I believe it was one of the most powerful and most beneficial things I've done, right? Because it's such a vicious cycle, and it's so harmful to the brain that you cannot waste another day doing this shit. So immediate S tier, you don't need me to explain to you why it is so powerful. You don't need me to explain to you why you know not being on no fat is so harmful. Essentially, S tier, every man should do it. You need to figure this shit out before you turn 18 because your neuroplasticity is very high, and you need to utilize that to your advantage and not to your disadvantage by fapping all the fucking day and utilizing that libido, utilizing that energy in a wrong, you know, sense, right? Reading, listening. I think listening means like listening to, useful podcasts, right? I think this is probably like the second fiddle to working out in sports and outdoor activities. I think more so than meditating, more so than even NoFap perhaps, you should figure this shit out. You should make this a habit. Like this is the advice of our parents, right? Read books, you know, learn new things. This is kind of the generic advice I'm aware, but I still haven't figured out any, advice that surpasses this. That's going to be more beneficial to you. The compound effect is going to be amazing on this. S tier shit. Reading fiction books. You know what? Make this A tier and make reading fiction books S tier. I think you're going to understand me later on in life. I mean, I'm still incredibly young, right? But you're going to understand what I'm saying when you're like at least a few years pass from the time that you have read a fiction book, right? For example, from the time that you've read The Lord of the Rings, right? The thought patterns and the intrinsic morality you have in you and the sheer capability of imagination and creativity is going to be so positively affected by how much fiction books you've actually read. And I think it's going to be more important and more useful to you than reading any fucking Angel Huber or listening to any Angel Huberman podcasts or reading Atomic Habits, right? I think you should probably read the Western canon or the classic books that we know before get to fucking reading books like Atomic Habits or some like Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think it's more important that you actually nail this one before you nail this one, non-fiction one. So S tier, demoted to A tier. Socializing S tier immediately. Like you're going to realize the most habits that I list here are going to be listed at S tier because your neuroplasticity before you turn 25 is such a powerful weapon in your arsenal, right? And we have to really deep this as young men. We have to really understand the power that this brings us. So socializing, this is a habit, like it or not. If you're an introvert watching this, I'm sorry. This is the one of the best skills you can get before you turn 18. This is going to set you up for life. This is going to, you know, make you the happiest, right? More so than any other habit listed here. This is going to, make you find your girlfriend, right? This is going to, help you make crazy amounts of money in the future. Nail this shit down, right? This is something you can practice. This is something you can do daily. Socializing S tier immediately. Making money. Now again, you will be surprised, but I'm not really with this. I don't think you really got a ton of things to provide to the world unless you have started right, like really, really young, really, really early. You can see the videos on this channel, like from me 4 years ago, 5 years ago, even probably, of me, making videos and trying to give advice and, you know, I guess, um, doing videos on things I've seen, right? I was taking cold showers at like middle school, and I thought that was the shit. And I had begun, kind of doing home workouts and such. And I had learned about all these bad habits I need to cut out. But still, you don't really have a lot to give to the world. Perhaps you have a lot to give to people younger than you, right? But when you're like, say, 4 years ago, when you're like 13, 14, there's not many people younger than you that are seeking advice, that are seeking solutions to their problems. They don't really have much of a problem to begin with. So making money, I believe this shouldn't be on your mind. If you must make money, if you can't like eat if you don't go to work, then okay, that's fine, right? If your parents are going to disown you the moment you turn 18, okay, that's fine. Focus on this. But other than that, I think there are bigger fish to fry. I think you have the time to make money, after you turn 18 at least. I mean, you can't even like establish a, business or, start an LLC or, own like .com addresses or, you know, really get shit going before you turn 18. So this is really senseless. This is an awful advice young men are given. This is going to make you burn out before you even turn 20. Focus on this later, probably like C tier or something like that. Because even if you do, make it, and have that fucking Lamborghini by 18, 10 years later, you're going to probably be really, really regretful that you made that money that early because what's the point after? What comes after? Right? What comes after making it big? Are you going to have a child in like age 19? So that's the point. I think you're not in no rush. I think this is a big, big fucking pitfall many young men fall into because they're so online. I think trying to be focused on making money is going to make you make even less further down the road because law of attraction and such, and like being desperate for money even before you turn 18 is a bad place to be at. And like, of course, if you must, right, go ahead. Don't let me stop you. But like, odds are you don't have to, right now be focused on, making a 10K a month business, right? So I suggest you get out in the world, get life XP, and do that before you focus on this. Building emotional intelligence, S tier, maturity, confidence. social capabilities. This is going to change you. This is going to make you into the man that you want to become. I'm going to make a video on this later. Um, Studying, probably like B tier, A tier. I think um important habits are built, through studying, right? I think you can have like essential life skills via, studying. I think you can have the capability to, sit in a chair and be locked in for 2 or 3 hours by studying to your classes. I think you can, gain the ability to, do the work which feels hard to you, which you don't like. And I think it's an important life skill, but I don't think it can only be in the realm of studying for your classes, right? So probably B or A tier. Gym, B tier. B tier. I think, yeah, you should work out, right? You should play some sports of some sorts, but it is not that essential. I think your body's, slowly coming into its own. I don't think you want to really have injuries before you turn 18. I had, injured my shoulder and couldn't go to the gym for like 6 months probably before I even turned 18. And I don't think you need to have that type of problems. My wrist was really fucked up from, making push-ups so much. And I think you should like be locked in, like work out, right? Do push-ups, um, chin-ups, all that type of stuff. Like calisthenics, sure, go ahead. Um, Things like playing sports, obviously, yes, but gym, it's not that essential. If you wish to have that body early, sure, go ahead. But this probably shouldn't be your main goal before you even turn 18, right? So recap, analyze yourself. In all these, areas we have listed, analyze yourself and decide which you're actually good at and which you're actually interested in, and which ones you should be working more towards, and note them down and note down their importance that I have explained to you right here, right? And decide on which ones you need to work for right now. Like pick three of these, right? Perhaps you pick building emotional intelligence, socializing, and like, let's say, working out in sports, right? Pick three, looking at them for a few months, and then come back, write down, and analyze, and that's the path to greatness, and that's path to habit building before you even turn 18. If you've made this far, there's a free coaching call link in the description. Of course, I need to have something to sell, right? Um, your first call is free. You can pick the time, pick the date, and we can hop on a call. I can give you advice on these topics, and you can actually be ready for what's coming after you turn 18. Thank you for watching this video. Yeah, that's it. Like this video, subscribe, all that. If you have any type of topics that you have still stuck on your mind, be sure to write them down in the comments. And yeah, goodbye. Thanks for watching.